Xenobiologist Dr. Villain stared at his datapad in disbelief, rereading the preliminary assessment for the third time. His research team had been observing the human's home world for 6 months, and the findings were unlike anything recorded before. "Computer, display Galactic Deathworld classification scale," he ordered, reptilian brows knitting in concern. A holographic panel shimmered into being, revealing the familiar 13-tier system that had guided interstellar civilization for millennia. Class 1. Garden worlds with negligible hazards. Class 5. Moderate predators and environmental risks. Class 10. Extreme conditions that require specialized gear for most species. Class 13. The theoretical ceiling. Planets so inhospitable that even the most advanced empires failed to maintain permanent settlements. The highest known designation in the archives belonged to Corrupt Prime at Class 11, where native silicon scorpions dissolved armor with acidic chitin. Dr. Villain's eyes flicked to his assessment of Earth. Class 15, possibly 16. His assistant, Dr. Zaraketh, entered the lab carrying another stack of data tablets. "Atmospheric composition has returned," she announced, her crystalline voice trembling with barely restrained hysteria. 21% free oxygen by volume, Villain whispered. "That's weapons-grade oxidizer. How are the humans not combusting spontaneously?" Zaraketh's expression went austere. "It worsens. Paleoclimate readings show higher oxygen in their past. During what they term the Carboniferous, levels reached 35%. "That's prehistoric," Villain said, trying for hope. "Current biosphere?" Zaraketh replied, somberly switching datasets. The fauna report scrolled. Saltwater crocodiles with bite forces measured in 16,000 newtons, polar bears detecting prey 30 kilometers across frozen wasteland, great white sharks, near-perfect killing machines, largely unchanged for 400 million years. The display cycled through horses and African elephants able to trample armored transports, tiny frogs whose skin secretions could kill a Regelian battlemat crew, jellyfish with 40-meter tentacles delivering neurotoxins that produced excruciating death. "They domesticated wolves," Zaraketh said, voice hollow. "Apex pack hunters of their ice ages. Humans took animals evolved to hunt cooperatively and kept them as companions." Villain's claws scraped the alloy floor. "Geological activity." The map switched to tectonic plates. Earth's crust floats atop molten mantle. Massive plates constantly shift, spawning what humans call earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. They build cities astride fault lines and concentrate populations in a region they call the Ring of Fire. "They pay to visit them," Zaraketh interrupted. "Tourists pay to get closer to features that could vaporize them." Villain sank into a chair. "Weather." Zaraketh pulled up meteorological logs. Category 5 cyclones with winds exceeding 250 kilometers per hour, tornadoes capable of lofting dwellings, hailstorms pelting landscapes with ice the size of small boulders, lightning striking the surface 8 million times per day. "How do they survive?" "They don't just survive," Zaraketh said, loading agricultural maps. "They've converted 70% of habitable land to farms. They've built cities on every continent, including one entirely cloaked in ice. They maintain permanent research stations in the most hostile environments, simply to study them." Villain reviewed his notes. "Microbial threats, bacteria that corrode metals, viruses that mutate faster than countermeasures can be devised, parasites that control host behavior. And that's only what we've cataloged," Zaraketh added. The senior scientist studied the classification matrix again. 13 classes are insufficient, he muttered. "I've been thinking the same," Zaraketh admitted. "Perhaps Class 14, incompatible with known biochemistry. Class 15, actively hostile to existence." "What of Class 16? Villain asked. Zaraketh opened the final dossier. Class 16, worlds that spawn sapient species which treat all the foregoing as ordinary. Villain read the psychological profiles his team had compiled. Humans did not merely endure their lethal world, they flourished. They wrote poetry about storms and deserts, painted their landscapes, and formed attachments even to predators. They celebrated peril as a virtue, a source of identity. Send our report to the Galactic Council, he said at last, voice low. Include a recommendation. What recommendation? Zaraketh asked. That Earth be designated Class 16, Deathworld Plus, Belaine replied, and that we establish a minimum exclusion zone of 5 light-years for non-human vessels because the environmental and biological hazards pose a contagion risk. He glanced once more at the psychological analysis. If that planet considers such conditions normal, it will likely be lethal to the other species unprepared for such extremes. We must warn every civilized nation of space. Isolation is necessary until we understand how their norms translate into biochemical threats across interstellar distances. Immediate quarantine protocols and observational satellites must be prioritized above diplomatic curiosity. Begin transmissions now.